Om Badram Karnebihi Shrunyama Devaha Badram Pashyema Akshabihi Ryajatraha Sthirairangair Tushtuvam Sastanobihi Vyashema Devahitan Yadayuhu Swastinah Indro Vridrashravaha Swastinah Pusha Vishwavedaha Swastinah Tarksho Arishtanemihi Swastino Bruhaspatir Dadatu Om Shanti 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 यो अन्तः प्रविश्य मम वाच इमां प्रक्षुप्तां सञ्जीवयति अखिलशक्तिधरस्वदाम्नान्यांष्टहस्तचरणश्रवणत्वगादीन् प्राणान्नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यं लसतु श्रीमदानन्दतीर्थेन्दुर्नो हृदम्बरे यद्वचश्चन्द्रिका स्वान्तसन्तापं विनिकृन्तति पदवाक्यप्रमाणज्ञान् प्रणम्य शिरसा गुरून् व्याकरिष्ये यथा बोधं विष्णुतत्त्वविनिर्णयम्. So, good morning, good evening, and good afternoon for friends who have joined for the 14th session of Atharvana Upanishad, which is also called as Mundaka Upanishad. So, what were we doing? We are in the Prathama Khande Dvitiya, Prathama Mundake Dvitiya Khandaha. So, we are making good progress here. So, last week we said Plavahiyete Adruda Yagnarupaha Ashtadashoktam Avarameshu Karma Yetat Shreyo Ye Abhinandanti Mudaha Jara Mrutyum Te Punareva Apiyanti Avidyayamantare Vartamanaha Swayam Dhiraha Panditam Manyamanaha Janganyamanaha Pariyanti Mudaha Ande Naivaniyama Andaha. So those were the two verses that we saw last week. So Plavahiyete Adruda Yagna Rupaha. All the yajnas are actions or worship that we do, or going to the temple and so on and so forth. All the actions that we do, if we don't do it with a prosper perspective, then it all boils down to being a boat with holes. As we cross this ocean called the samsara, and we are going to be on a boat which has got holes, it is not going to take us to the other end, which is moksha. We are just going to sink. The boat is eventually going to sink. So that is what Angirasa is teaching us through Shuanaka. So whatever action that you do in life, being throwing stuff into the fire or going to the temples and looking at those deities and doing, pujas, etc., or going to work and doing your professional, personal activities and spiritual activities, if you don't do it with a proper perspective, this is like a broken boat. Plavahiyete adrida. Adrida we saw last week. Drida means firm. Adrida means weak boat. A weak boat is a boat with holes. Yajnarupa ashtadashoktam avarameshu karma. You may have 15 people and do this major big sacrifices, but we don't do it properly. That becomes avaram eshu karma. Avaram means what? Varam means, vara means high. Avara means low. Okay, so it becomes lower type of karma. Yeah, ashtadashoktam avarameshu karma. Yeah. Why is that? Etat shreyo abhinanteti mudaha. So folks like us, mudas, idiots, let's put it like that. He's telling us off, yeah. Let's accept this. The mudas or the deluded, yeah, or the ill-informed or the ignorant, they think just doing this type of yajnas or this type of worship is the greatest worship that they can do. That they will go to a temple once every Friday, put some 10 pounds or 10 rupees in the hundi and then do some pradakshina 2 or 3 times and come back, and that's all to it. If people think that is the Shreyas, ye tat Shreyo ye abhinandanti mudaha, what happens to these folks? Jara mrutyum te punareva apiyanti. They go round and round in circles. They'll come back again. Yeah, they fall down. They go to Jara mrutyu. They get old, the old age, and then they have to shed this body and get this again and again. Why is this going on for folks like us? We don't seem to be able to get away from this cycle of birth and death. The pure reason being, most of us, avidyayam antare vartamanaha swayam dhiraha panditam manyamanaha janganyamanaha pariyanti mudaha andena niyava yata yandaha. So Angirasa is using muda quite often for us. Yeah, he's telling us mudas. You guys are mudas, man. Just get the perspective right. So here is another mudas. Who are those mudas? Avidyayam antare vartamanaha. So we are all sitting around this fence. This fence is the ignorance, and we are all sitting right in the middle of it, and we are thinking we are very well protected by this fence of ignorance. Okay, and we are the strongest, and we are the most intelligent, and we are the wisest. Swayam dhiraha. And we are the most learned. Panditam manyamana. What is their life like? Janganyamanaha, which comes from Jaganyamanaha. Jaganya means lowest levels of existence. Actually, we are leading the lowest levels of existence is what Angirasa is telling us through Shuanaka. And we just need to reflect on this. Yeah, so we may be driving fancy cars when we may be living in 5-bedroom, 6-bedroom houses, and we might have all sorts of utensils at home. Is that really the higher forms of living? We just need to reflect this upon ourselves. What is it that Angirasa is telling us? He's clearly saying that is not the highest levels of living. It is Janganyamanaha or Jaganyamanaha. Pariyanti Mudaha. So they go round and round in circles. What is that round and round in circles? Samsara. Andena Niyama Yata Anda. Classic example is the politicians. They're blind people. So, but we all follow them and we think we are doing something good. No, we eventually fall into the pit. Yeah, so we go round and round in circles and we fall into the pit. Yeah, so that is a beautiful verse, and that we, as you know, this comes in Katha Upanishad, it comes in Maitrayani Upanishad, and it comes in 3 different Upanishads. So it's such an important verse that it gives a reality check for all of us as to what is it that we're doing in the present body that we have, which is called Sadhana Sharira in Mrityu Loka, but we have covered ourselves with ignorance. Yeah. And this is a new verse for today. And Angirasa goes on. So the rest of the chapter here, it just gives you know who are the ignorance and who are the wise. Yeah. And then we can decide which group we fall into. Okay. So here he says, Avidyayam Bahuda Vartamana Vayam Krutartha iti Abhimanyanti Balaha Yat Karmino na Pravedayanti Ragat Tena Aturaha Shinalokaha Chayabante. So interesting was, let's go and read this again. Avidyayam Bahuda Vartamanaha Vayam Krutartha iti Abhimanyanti Balaha Yat Karmino na Pravedayanti Ragat Tena Aturaha Kshinalokaha Chayavante. Chyavante. That is a Chayavante. It's a difficult word. It's a tongue twister. Okay. So here, thankfully, Angirasa has scaled down his censuring. He is now saying us, he's calling us all as balas. He said Mudas twice. Now he's telling you guys are balas. You guys are childish. You guys, when he says childish, what he is essentially meaning is your intellect is not mature. Yeah, you guys are childish. Who are those fellows who are childish? The ones who are surrounded by this fence of ignorance. And then here he gives a very interesting perspective. Yeah. Avidyayam bahuda vartamanaha. Okay. The ignorant take many roots. So this is important for us to think, and you will find this in all aspects of our lives. The ignorance take many roots. Yeah. The ignorance are the ones that make the maximum noise. Empty vessels always make a lot of noise. The ignorance always take different routes. Why? Because they worship different devatas, they may do things for material benefit and so on. So they just don't know the right approach to anything in life, and they're confused, they're going all over the place. Yeah. So that is what Angirasa is actually reminding us here, saying Avidyayam Bahuda Vartamana. Okay. Let us look at the knowledgeables. Truth is always one. Okay. So truth is only one. And the ones that are knowledgeable, it is a one-way street. It is a one-way street, one direction path of Shreyas towards the truth. Okay. So, but the ignorant ones, they're completely confused. They think they worship all sorts of deities, and they do yajnas for material benefits, or they do any actions for material benefits. So, and they think Kritartha iti abhimanyanti balaha. Kritartha. Yeah. Vayam Kritartha iti abhimanyanti. They think what they do is the best. Okay. Our path is the best. What I do is the best. And that I have done all that needs to be done and nothing further needs to be performed. Yeah. So that is what most of us think, okay, whether we like it or not. This is, as I said, reality check that Angirasa is giving us, that we always think what we are doing is the best and we are doing there is nothing more better that we can do here. That is the approach that we have. particularly in our spiritual life and philosophical lives, but also in professional and personal lives. Yeah. So here I have a small quiz. Krita Krityascha Bharata. Okay, so there is this verse in, I've got a small quiz to wake us all up. Okay. Where in Gita, which chapter and in which verse Krishna has said Krita Krityascha Bharata? Because Kritartha, the reason why I put this is Kritartha is very similar to Krita Krityascha. Okay. Kritartha means there is nothing better to do than this. There is nothing further needs to be performed, is what Kritartha means. Okay. So in which verse has Krishna said Krita Krityascha Bharata? Who wants to go for it? Neetaji. Okay, we have quite a few. So Anand, do you want to go first?
Chapter 15, verse 20. 15:20.
15:20. Okay, I'll hold that. Anybody else? Sushrut or Neeta, did you have something? No. Okay, so
15:20, yeah, 15:20.
15:20. Okay, excellent.
Last
So,
line of 15:20.
okay, so Anandji, do you want to recite that 15:20?
इति गुह्यतमं शास्त्रम् इदमुक्तं मया नघ एतत् बुद्ध्वा बुद्धिमान् स्यात् कृतकृत्यश्च भारत.
Beautiful, Anand. Thank you so much. So there Krishna says, the one that who knows me as the Paravidya, the one who knows me as the highest, the one who knows me as Purushottama, actually knows everything and he actually is worshipping and there is nothing else that he needs to know. Okay, so that is the highest thing, that is the highest thing that we can do. And that is the criteria when somebody says Krita Krityashta. Okay. But what are we doing? We are following Aparavidya and we are just hankering towards various deities for our own selfish benefits. And we think that is the greatest thing to do. So I just wanted to bring this comparisons as to here, Angirasa says, these ignorant fellows think Vayam Kritartha iti Abhimanyanti, these balas. Okay, whereas Krishna has said in chapter 15, verse 20, that Krita Krityashta is something of, it's a much bigger ideal that we should be looking for. Okay, so why is it that this is happening to us? Yeah, so that is interesting. He gives an answer. Harish.
No, I was trying to reconcile the multiple roots, being the Vidya thing with what Krishna said in Mama Vartmanu Vartante. I mean, like all paths, lead to me, type of thing. So how do we reconcile that concept with this?
Yeah. So all paths will lead to him, provided we have that approach that he is the Antaryamin and the highest destination. So if we do that and you think about that, highest destination is one route. So that is how I would reconcile, Harish. I hope that makes sense. But if, for example, we say that, okay, I'm going to just worship Surya. Okay, I'm going to worship Surya and he is the highest, blah, blah. You do. So you might go to Surya Loka and then eventually you'll come back again. Whereas there are some folks who will say, okay, Surya Namaka Paramatma, Surya Narayana, and if I worship, oh, even the, Yad Aditya Gatam Tejo, Jagat Bhasayate Akilam, Yad Chandramasi, Yad Chagno, Tat Tejo Vidhi Mamakam. If we worship in that perspective, then of course we'll go to Surya Loka, and we know that once you go to Surya Loka, it is the Devayana path, that it's a straight one-way road to moksha. So it depends on the how we approach it. I hope that answers your question. So why we are not doing this? We are thinking that what we are doing is the basis. Krutartha iti abhimanyanti bala. Okay, why? This is important. This is the answer to that. Yat karmino ragat. Okay, so we people, all of us, let us not kid ourselves. Let us not be hypocrites. Let us accept the truth. Yat karmino ragat. We are all doing various karmas, be it yajna of various types or work of various types. Ragat. Raga means what? Raga, greed, desire, selfish desire, greed. You can use all those terms. We do our action because of ragat. Yat karmino ragat. Okay, karma, yajna, done out of desire. Sakamya karma. Because we do our sakamya karma, we are getting all these karmic imprints on our linga sharira and going round and round in circles. Yeah. And we do our karmas like that. Yet karmino ragat. Why? Na pravedayanti. We are doing such karmas because we actually really do not know na pravedayanti. So that's an interesting word. Na pravedayanti. Let's split it open. Na Vedayanti. Para, Prakrishta, Paripurna. Those are all the etymological derivations of pra. Okay? Whenever you see pra, think about para, Prakrishta, Paripurna, and stuff like that. Okay? Vedayanti, we do not know what? We do not know this Paratattva. We are not looking at it from a Paravidya's perspective. Sakamya, we are doing Sakamya, whereas in the previous verses, Angirasa says Satyakamaha. If you do for his pleasure rather than for your pleasure. So there are differences. Na pravedayanti, because we do not have that fundamental knowledge. And because we don't have that fundamental knowledge and we are going helter-skelter everywhere, going to various routes, getting confused over what is going on. That is the different routes, Harishji, that we are thinking about. That people get distracted and confused and they taste and sample different things and they don't know what is the right path. Okay. And then what happens to them? Tena aturaha. And Angirasa is very clearly telling, and there are so many examples in our own lives. Yeah. Tena aturaha. Aturaha means what? Confused. So by such wrong knowledge or ignorance, folks get confused and they're anxious. They get tensed out. They get stressed out. What am I doing? How can I do it? What is the best way? So they get into that confused state. So when that happens, Kshina lokash, Kshina lokaha chavante. Kshina, after exhaustion of their punya. So as we were just briefly mentioning, you could worship Surya, or you could worship Chandra, or you could worship Rudra. You can go to all these lokas, okay? Because you have done good job. Let's not face it. If you do that yajna, it is still a good yajna. You get good punya, you get good karmic imprints. And because of that, you will go to higher planes of existence. Then you will go to Chandra Loka, for example. And you may be there for some time. And then kshina, then you exhaust that punya. And then what happens? You'll come down. Kshayavante, lokaha, mrityu lokaha, or even worse than mrityu lokaha, you scroll down. Yeah. So Krishna, of course, in 9:21, he talks about it. We may not have time to go through this, but I've given a reference that where Krishna in 9:21 gives a similar kind of reference for folks who get confused as to what is the right direction. Because truth is one. Yeah. So for all others like us, tena aturaha, kshina lokaha chayavante. We'll be on earth, good punyas, go to Swarga, come down to earth again once the Swarga is exhausted, or some of us may even go to Naraka. Okay, the deepest of pits. Yeah, we may even go there. Okay. So here I have a very, very quick question. You could argue. So if we are going to come, if we are going to have karmic influence, if this is how the cycle is, that I am going to go exhaust my my karmas by this process. I'll be on earth. I'll go to Swarga. I'll come back to earth. I'll go to Naraka. Again, come back to earth and keep on. Because I have this bank account of karmas, I'll exhaust all this bank account. I'll spend all these karmas, and then maybe I'll reach a place where I may not have any karmas anymore. So we have kind of discussed this, but always worth ruminating on this. Why can't we attain moksha by just exhausting all our karmas? So who wants to go for this? So as you know, we can't exhaust karmas. Oh, Anand, go for it.
I think to attain moksha, not only we need to exhaust karmas, we need to have jnana, we need to have bhakti and the grace of the God.
Yeah, true. That's very good, Anand. But I'm still saying I don't want to do jnana, bhakti, or any of the things. I'll just keep on. I don't mind going around in circles for another million lives, okay? But if I know that my million plus one life, I won't have any karmas, then maybe after million one life, I may go to moksha. So I could have that view, isn't it? Why is not possible?
Madhu, what it is, there is a high risk that like if you do that, that million, it won't be like definite, because then you may go into another 1 million, because you will be tempted to do some pavam or punya. So it is not like a bank account where you spend everything, in that way. So because you are attracted to karmic things, you might do some good or bad, both. So that will only add to your burden.
Beautiful, Sudarshanji. Thank you very much. Spot on. So as Sudarshanji, as Sudarshan was mentioning, after 14 years of age and before 80 years of age, whatever actions that we do, and as Sudarshan said, we slip most of the time, maybe once or twice in one life, we might be doing Nishkama Karma. Okay? But 99.99% of the time, we are doing only Sakamya Karma. So, and as you know, the Shastras tell us in every life, the karmas that we do will lead to at least 10 future lives. And if you think about 1,000,000 lives that you've lived, actually your millionth one life, you'll realize you got 10 million more karmic imprints, and you may probably want to do 10 million more births. Yeah. So it is an inexhaustible thing. So, and that is why, as Anandji mentioned, so you need the devotional service, etc., so that you destroy the karmas altogether. Yeah. So let's not live under some kind of a illusion that if I do just good activities, that I'll attain moksha, because Angirasa is talking about that in the coming verses. So before we do that, why we can't, we have sort of dealt with this. Ishta purtam manyamanaha varishtam na anyat shreyo vedayanti pramudaha. So mudaha has come back again. Third time he's telling us that this time pramudaha. Pra means prakrishta mudaha, the highest fools. Yeah. Ishta purtam manyamanaha varishtam na anyat shreyo vedayanti pramudaha nakasya prushte te sukrute anubhutyevam lokam hinataram va vishanti. Yeah. So what he's telling is ishtapurtam manyamanaha varishtam. Again, this is you and me. Okay. This is very, very practical philosophy. Ishta and purta. So let's understand what ishta and purta is. Ishta are all the activities that you and me, we do. Yeah. Individual yajnas and pujas at home and so on for self-benefit. Okay. So most of us do maybe every day, maybe once a week, whatever may be your routine. So those activities are called ishta. Okay. Whereas we may also be doing something called purta. Purta means for societal or social benefit. Okay. So in the Vedic times, for example, the folks were building lakes and tanks so that the village has water. Okay. So those were being built. Or for people who go on pilgrimage, people used to build rest houses. Okay? Bread and breakfast that used to be available. If you're going to Badri, for example, build rest houses for people. So that is also called purta. Or build wells. In your villages, build wells so that people have access to water. Or build temples so that people can go and, worship and so on. Build temples. Plant trees. So these are all 5 things called purta in Vedic civilization. Planting trees, that is interesting. So even in the Vedic times, I'm sure in Vedic times there are lots more trees than now, but even at that time they used to do that purta, plant trees. Yeah. So these are all some of the societal things that was being done in the Vedic times, but also people do this in the current times in some form or the other. Okay? They may not build tanks and rest houses, but some people may build schools and they may build tanks. So those, you can see those parallels. You can build temples also. That's also happening. Yeah, plant trees. So you can do all this. Okay? Now here is the interesting bit. So pramudas, that is the highest levels of ignorance of fools. Okay? They manyamanaha varishtam. They think these activities are the highest and they are the greatest. And we hear this all the time. Why do you have to spend time establishing centers of learning for Vedic studies and Vedic philosophies? Why don't you build something that will help benefit the society and so on? They are all good things to do, but there are higher things that also needs to be done. Okay. But some folks think that this is what it is. It will stop at this. I don't need to do anything more. Yeah. Na anyat shreyo vedayanti pramodaha. So very easy to understand. They, the fools, think there is no superior, nobler activities than this. Okay. The reason why Angirasa is saying that, not because these activities are not desirable, they are 100% desirable and they are very good for individual progression as well as social, societal progression. But it all boils down to what is your perspective with which you are doing it. Is it an ego trip for your own self-benefit, or is it a dedication to Paramatma? Okay, so that is what is important when you do. So if you build temples, if you build let's say, wells and say, look, if I build a lot of wells, people will say how charitable I am, so how great person I have, so I might get some award and so on. So if it is from that perspective you become a pramoda. On the other hand, you do these things without even ensuring that your name does not even come in any of this. You are not even recognized for any of this, but you still do it because that is the right thing to do, and that is a sacrifice to Paramatma. That is the dedication to the God. But we again need to reflect upon ourselves, like many of the things that we do, are we doing as a true dedication to Paramatma, or is it just a ego trip for us? Oh, if I do this, people will say I'm a great guy, I'm a very learned person, I'm a very nice person. So we just need to reflect upon this, because Angirasa has given us those criteria. But again, he says, if, for example, even with for some selfish benefit, for your own ego trip, or for your own, you may want to get a knighthood to do all this. Okay? If that is your motivation to get it, that's okay, mate. That's fine. You will still get some benefits because they are still good punyas. Okay? What happens to those folks? Nakasya prushte te sukrute anubhutva. Okay? Nakasya, that's an interesting word, nakasya. Nakasya, I have split it to ka, akha, na akha. That is naka. Okay? So you know that Narasimha nakastuti, naka. The naka, the nails of Narasimha is of eternal bliss, as it's called. Yeah. So this is similar kind of word. What is naka? Naka, ka means sukha. Akha means no sukha. Na akha means double negative. So you get sukha. Okay, you enjoy. So nakasya purushte te sukrute. They go to Swarga and enjoy. And then what happens to them? Imam lokam va hinataram vishanti. So two things can happen to those folks. Imam lokam or hinataram vashanti. Okay. So imam lokam means what? This earth. So these fellows, as we discussed in the previous verse, that they could go to Swarga and then they'll come back to this Mrityu Loka. Say, for example, some folks, at least they may have some egoistic motives, but they still think, oh, I should also think about Paramatma, and because I'm doing all this satsang and so on, so I'll bring God in this equation to some extent. So if we do these good activities with some God consciousness, this will happen to us. We'll go to Swarga and at least come to this Mrityu Loka and try and catch up where we left. Okay? But there are some folks who are down to earth atheists. There is no God consciousness in their equation at all, but they still may do these kind of good activities. And Angirasa says what happens to them is, yeah, they'll go to these places, higher levels of enjoyment, but then they fall down into Hinataram. Hinataram means the lower status of existence, which is Naraka. Okay. So in chapter 9, 16, 20, Krishna talks about this. So may I request one or two of us to just pick up verse 16 and verse 20 of chapter 9, where, Krishna talks exactly the same thing. Yeah, he is basically telling us the views of the Upanishads, right, in Gita. So, yeah, so here, for example, he says, Patanti narake ashuchau, tato yanti adamam gatim. Yeah, so these are all clear statements that Krishna says that is that second category of folks who do this. And in that chapter 9:20, Krishna talks about two categories of folks and what happens to their and what is their destination. And that is exactly what Angirasa is telling us in this beautiful sets of verses. Okay, so I hope you find that interesting. So the next question is, what is it then we should do? Okay, so he said 3 times, he said he's called us as mudas. And once he said, you guys are childish and you're balas. So 4 times he has told us of muda, pramuda, balaha. So then the question is, okay, Angirasa, what is it that we need to do? Yeah, there must be some rule, some solution for our plight, right? And Angirasa is very, very graceful. And he immediately says, Tapaha, what is the correct approach? Tapaha shraddhe, yehi upavasanti aranye, shanta vidvamsaha, vaikshacharyam charantaha, Suryadvarena te virajaha prayanti, yatra amrutaha sa purushaha He Avyaya Atma. Beautiful, beautiful verse. Gives a quick formula for us as to how we need to do our transactions in this life. Tapaha and Shraddhe. Tapaha, tapa alochane. Deep thinking of truths. Yeah. You need to study Shravana, Manana. Yeah. Deep thinking. And then Dhyana. Okay. So those are all the essential criteria, and these comes only through scriptural studies, right? And that he comes in the next verse. Tapaha, Shraddhe. We start with the faith that things exist that are beyond our material perception. That is the starting point that Krishna has very categorically said. And that is exactly what Angirasa is also saying here. That is the correct approach. What is that correct approach? Tapaha, Shraddhe. So for Shraddha, I think it's very good to revise these two verses. So can I request one of us take 439 and another person take 93, please? So who wants to go for 439? Anand.
Thanks. Shraddhavan labhate jnanam tatparat samyatendriyaha jnanam labha param shantim achirena adhigacchati.
Beautiful. And 9-3. Can I ask, let's pick Harish D. Do you want to do the 9-3, please?
Ashraddhana Purusha Dharmasyasya Parantapa Aprapya Mam Nivartante Mrityu Samsaravatmani.
Beautiful. So these two verses are so beautiful. They capture the whole thing that Angira has been talking, isn't it? Shraddhavan labhate jnanam. Unless you have the Shraddha, what is that Shraddha? The faith that there are things that exist beyond our perception, beyond what we can perceive through our sense organs. Yes, what we perceive through our sense organs is reality and it is real. Okay? But there are also certain other reals which are beyond our perception, yeah? Beyond our material perception. Yeah, so that is the first Shraddha that we need to have. Yeah, and then everything else will flow. Okay? On the other hand, if you become a materialist or a Charvaka who says, all that I see only is real, there is nothing that exists that I haven't, that is, if it is not in the purview of my perception, which is the Charvaka view, and nothing exists beyond this. If you start that way, Krishna has said, Ashraddha danaha. You will, and then what happens to you? Aprapyamam. You will never reach me. What will happen to him? Nivartante, nitaram vartante. Go round and round in circles. What? Mrityu, samsara, vartmani. Very clear statements. And of course, our testament, New Testament also says, for we walk by faith, not by sight. So very apt, nice statement. For we walk by faith, not by sight. And Krishna talks about this in Veda. Okay. Tapaha Shraddhe yehi upavasanti. Next, when can you do tapaha and Shraddha? Not if you're going out to clubbing and movies and stuff every day and going through various parties and evening events and have 100 people there and talk nonsense and then come back. That is not going to take you anywhere. You may have some temporary fun and relaxation, but that will never, bring you back. It will never give you that environment in which you need to work. So Angirasa says, Upa vasanti aranye, upa, higher. Yeah, look at those words, so beautiful. He could have just said vasanti aranye. No, he said upa vasanti. You can go to forest and you can be hunter-gatherer. No, he said Upavasanti. You go to the forest and Upavasanti, live at a higher level. And why did he say Aranya? So what is Aranya? Who is going to tell us what is Aranya? So Aranya means what? Literally forest. Okay. So in the modern parlance, you could say a forest means what? Okay. So you can say a forest is people where there is not many people and there you don't have this nuisance conversations and interactions that you need to have. You can be in some kind of isolation where you can think about this. That doesn't mean you have to, in the modern times, it doesn't mean you have to close your house and then lock and sit yourself in some corner. No, what Angirasa is saying is, in the current times, reduce that unnecessary interactions for entertainment and talking nonsense. Okay. Upavasanti, try and stay at a higher levels of consciousness. Aranye, avoid unnecessary human contact. Okay. Then what he says, Shanta Vidvamsaha. So, yehi upavasanti aranye Shantaha Vidvamsaha. Shantaha, Sha plus Anta plus Ti. Ti means Ananda, Anta means highest levels of Ananda. Okay, the highest level, Sha means Ananda. So there are all these kind of etymology of Shanta. But one other etymology here, Shanta, which we are all very familiar, is you're at peace with yourself. Yeah. So when you don't have unnecessary human contact, you are at peace with yourself. Shantaha. Vidvamsaha, knowledgeable, read, Shravana, Manana. Okay. Bhaikshacharyam charantaha. This probably may not work in today's modern living. Eat with what he gets from alms. And I would equate this as simple living. Okay. Have simple living, and high thinking is what Angirasa is saying. Have simple living, high thinking. And for people who do that, they do what? Shravana, Manana, Nitidhyasana. And for them, Angirasa gives a great encouragement. He says, Suryadvarena te virajaha prayanti. So this is the first time we have spoken so much about Viraja Nadi, Viraja. Oh, that ocean of that interface between material and non-material thing, that Viraja in Brahmakalpa, Chaturmukha will take us, we will kind of go into that Viraja. So who is going to tell us what happens in that Viraja? What is going to happen in that Viraja? Who is going to tell us? Viraja Nadi, as it's called. What is the primary event that happens to souls which carry all these sheets? What happens?
Linga Sharira goes, Madhuji.
Thank you very much, Padmajaji. Anybody else had another view? Okay, so we all unanimously agree with Padmajaji that we shed our Linga Sharira, all the material entanglements, and they cross over to the other side. Suryadvarena, Devayana, Uttarayana. So all those things are the same idea. Surya Dwara. Yeah. So you know this Sahasrara, and then you take that path, you go to Surya Loka, and from there you go on to Satya Loka, hang out in Satya Loka. And then te Virajaha Prayanti. So Angirasa has given us a clear indication that this is Viraja. Okay. So again, I just wanted to point out, we have discussed Viraja in so many forums here. But the word Viraja in the Upanishads comes in Mundaka Upanishad. Yeah. Suryadvarena te Virajaha Prayanti. Viraja. Let's look at what Viraja means. V plus Rajas. Okay. Rajas, one way is it's all these material gunas. Okay. That is one Rajas. But the other meaning of Rajas in Sanskrit is dirt. Okay. What is dirt for us? Our material covering is the real dirt for us. Okay. So we get rid of that material. V means getting rid of dirt. And how do you get rid of the dirt? In our daily life, we have a bath. And similarly, our philosopher says, when this Brahmakalpa is over, we will have this bath in this ocean where we get rid of this dirt called the Linga Sharira. Yeah. Prayanti. We travel. Go where? Yatra Amrutaha Saha Purushaha Hi Avyayaha Atma. Okay, so many adjectives that Angirasa gives to this Paramatma whom we know as Vishnu. He is called Amrutaha. Purushoha vai Narayanaha. Mahanarayana Upanishad. That Purusha is Vishnu. Avyaya. He is unmanifested. He doesn't have any material things. He is Atma. So who is going to tell us what is the meaning of Atma? So we've done Atma so many times. So any views people want to share their ideas about what that Atma means? So Atma, literally some folks will say Atma means soul. Okay, that's all fine. But there is something called Tantra which gives actually a definition of Atma. Atatatvacha matrutvat Atma hi paramo harihi. Atma is Hari. One, because he is all pervasive. Atatatvacha matrutva. He is all pervasive everywhere in the universe and also in Vaikuntha. And another meaning is Atma Swami. Okay, my controller. So he who is your controller as your Antaryamin is called Atma. Primarily in the Upanishads. Okay. So there are some folks who think Atma primarily means Jiva. That is their problem. Okay. But Atma primarily in the Upanishads means Atatatvacha Matrutvat Atma hi Paramo Harihi. Okay. So you will go, you say Suryadvarayana te Virajaha Prayanti, and go where? That place. What is that place? Amrutaha Sahapurushaha Hi Avyaya Atma. Okay, so this is the journey of souls. So all Upanishads will talk about this journey of souls for us, and he'll tell us this is the rules, man. This is how it operates. Yeah, this is the Vedic truth. You may want to accept it or not. That is, you may be Shraddhavan or you may be Ashraddhavan. If you are Shraddhavan, you accept this is the truth, then you will conduct your lives and your transactions that will mold you towards this journey. Yeah, not elsewhere. Okay, so that is very, very important for us, and we need to think about it. So then the question is, how does this journey of souls begin? Who is eligible? Are we adhikaris or eligible? We have been doing this satsang for 4 years now almost. Are we eligible folks who are actually eligible to make this journey? Yeah, so we need to again reflect. So these are all opportunities for us to introspect and reflect honestly about on ourselves as to, are we really eligible? This high pedestal from which Angirasa is talking about. Yeah. So this is one of my favorite verses in this kanda. It's a beautiful verse. Yeah. And he says, Angirasa says, Shuanaka, you know who will do this? Okay. There are some rules as to how you become an eligible person or an adhikari. And he immediately says, Parikshya lokan, karmachitan, brahmano nirvedamayan. Yeah. Nasti akrutaha krutena. Yeah. Tadvijnanartam sa gurumeva abhigachet samitpanihi shrotriyam brahmanishtam. Okay. Again, the entire summary of what is that approach of Vedic philosophy is very, very beautifully given here. The first line, I probably we spent about 10 minutes talking about it because it's such an important line. Parikshya lokan. Angirasa says immediately, Parikshya lokan. Pariksha. Pariksha means what? Examine. Okay. Examine this life. Yeah, you have been given an opportunity to have a sadhana sharira. So experiment with life. Experience this life. Okay. That is the first criteria. You have to do this. Pariksha lokan. Not run away from life because of all the tribulations. You just don't run away from it. You have to face this life that you have been given by the grace of Paramatma. Pariksha lokan. Yeah, never forget this Pariksha lokan, because every time this comes in, I have to think about Jayatirtha. In his Mayavada Kandana Tika, he is given an avatarika for this. Exactly what he talks about. Ihahi vivida samsarika dukkha darshanena viraktasya shama damadi mataho mumukshoho adhikarinaha. He said, he who sees, experiences or sees the sufferings of his and others' lives, and then try to understand what is the truth behind this. Why is this happening? Why am I going through suffering, or why are people around me having various suffering? What is the root cause of this? Like how Buddha asked and he took a different direction. Vedas also ask you to do the same direction, and that is what Angirasa is saying. Parikshya lokan karmachitan. Okay. So this loka that we do, that we are here, this is ihaloka, right? Here. And then there is the paraloka, which is all the swargas and so on. So ihaloka and paralokas that Angirasa has been talking so much about in the previous verses, they are all a direct consequence of the karmas that we do, right? That is, there is no confusion there. So because of all the karmas, we are either here or we might go to paraloka and then come back again. Okay, so examine this. Parikshya lokan karmachitan. Okay. And that is exactly the first sutra of Veda Vyasa. Atato Brahma Jignasa. Om Ataha Brahma Jignasa. Atha there means then. Then means what? Adhikara anantarya arthascha. Acharya has given a bhashya for that in Brahma Sutra Bhashya. Atha there means adhikari. Once eligibility is there, then you start your journey. Okay. What is that eligibility? You look at the world, you look at the material world, examine it, live through it, live beyond it, ask core basic questions, try and find those answers in our Vedas. There is answer. And the rishis have seen it. Devatas are talking about it in various places. Manishyotamas who live among us, the great men who live around us, they're all talking about this. They're all the eligible adhikaris. Okay. What is the Vishaya? Knowledge of this Paravidya or the Parabrahman or the independent Brahman. What happens to them when they do that Prayojana, removal of samsara, or attainment of moksha? And the link between all this becomes sambandha. And when you have all these that fall into place, that is called Anubandha Chatushtaya. And that is a prerequisite for the start of any philosophical inquiry. So you can go back to this first sutra Veda Vyasa and read hundreds of pages that talk about this in various bhashyas and tippanis and so on. Amazing piece. But Angirasa says, Pariksha Lokan Karma Chitan. So I hope you like this because I'm going to take you back to what we did last year or even before that. I took you to Katha Upanishad. I just want you to take you back to Katha Upanishad, and I've just put a statement here said, our approach to life should be like Nachiketa. And we studied him in Katha Upanishad quite a lot, isn't it? So I've just got a small little quiz, maybe a 1-minute quiz, and then we'll close this session talking about the Nachiketa event and then come back to what happened to Angirasa and Shuanaka. So who is going to explain to us what happened when Nachiketa asked for the third boon? So who is going to tell us? Who is going to revise for us? Shall I pick somebody or you want to volunteer? Anand.
I'll try, Madhuji.
Yeah.
I think that the third question Nachiketa asks is about the truth, about the God, the secrets. And then, if I'm right, Yamadharmaraja offers him a variety of things. He offers riches, he offers whatever he wants in the life, except for the truth. I think I can go only as far as that.
Yeah. Thank you, Anandji. Yeah, you gave a very succinct summary on this because that is what is going on, isn't it? He said, I want to know about the moksha sthiti where Paramatma is. What happens to souls in moksha? Are they independent? Are they still dependent on Paramatma? That is the discussion there. And Yama says, mate, why are you asking me all these complicated questions? Why? I'll give you some interesting things. He said, why you want to do all this? I'll give you material things for you. I'll make you live for 100 years. I'll make you live for 1,000,000 years. I'll make you live for one manvantara. If you want even live until one Brahmakalpa, you can live. Enjoy this material world. I'll give you cows. I'll give you gold. I will give you all the chariots. I will give you yachts. I'll give you car. You can own this whole world. Yeah, you can have a big house with swimming pool. Yeah, you can have beautiful damsels who can dance for you. I will send my apsaras from Yamaloka to you. Have fun. You can spend time in the beach. Go for great resort holidays. Have massage. Go to orchestras. Become the prime minister or even the president of the world. I'll make you even the president of the whole universe. Why don't you do all this and have pleasure? Which is what we are doing right at this point. We may not, Yama has not given us that, but we think we are doing all this. Okay. And Nachiketa is being offered something that is exponentially much more than what we have in our mundane, small, meaningless, dust of the dust life in this grand scheme of the universe. Okay. Nachiketa is being offered higher things. What did Nachiketa say? Shwabhavo martyasya yad antaka etat sarva indriyanam jarayanti tejaha api sarvam jivitam alpameva tavaiva vahaha tavanritya gitehe navittena tarpaniyo manishye lapsyamahe vittam adrakshyam chetva jivishyamo yavid jivishyasi tvam varastu me varaniyaha sa eva. So this is beautiful. Api sarvam jivitam alpameva. It's a very, very profound truth that Nachiketa actually has this conversation with Yama and says, you make me live for one manvantara. You give me all the pleasures. Every damn thing is temporary, Yama. I don't want it. I don't want temporary things. I want that permanent, everlasting solution for my troubling situation. That is what Nachiketa asked, and that is what we should be doing when we do Pariksha Lokan Karmachitan. Yeah, and he goes on, he says, Ajiriyatam, Amrutanam, Upetya, Jiriam, Martyaha, Padastaha, Prajanan, Abhidyayan, Varanarati Pramodan, Atidirge Jivito Koramate. What is the use of living for 1 million years? I might enjoy something, but eventually what? Yama, your lifetime is also only for one mantra. You also have to go, mate, after one mantra. I might go after 100 years. You also have to go for one mantra. Yeah. What is the point in just delaying the inevitable destruction of these material enjoyments? Yeah. A dog eats, sleeps, mates, and defends. How am I different from a dog? Yeah. So those are all the profound philosophies that Yama and Nachiketa, they have this discussion, isn't it? I want Samparaye. I want to know about that moksha and the moksha sthiti. Na anyat tasmad Nachiketo vriniti. I don't want anything else. You will reach this state only when we realize api sarvam jivitam alpameva. When are we going to learn that api sarvam jivitam alpameva? Pariksha lokan karma chitan brahmano nirvedamayan. Brahmano nirvedamayan. Okay, Brahmano means you and me who are studying Brahma. Brahma is Veda. Okay, not somebody who's born in a Brahmin Kula. Somebody who knows the Veda is called Brahmana in Veda. Let's not have any confusion on that. That person who learns the scriptures, he understands Nirvedam. He sees the external world and says, enough. Yeah, Viraktasya, Vairagya, Nirvedam, Vairagya. Yeah, Nirvedamayan. Why? Because he understands Nasti Akritaha Krutena. So this Akritaha is a very important word there. Akritaha means moksha or Paramatma. Okay, so Nasti Krutena Akritaha. That is how you read this. Nasti Krutena Akritaha. By just mere actions and karma, we will never know this Akritaha. Akritaha means what? Whom nobody has created. He is Ajaha. He is Aja, right? Nobody has created him. He is uncreated. Okay. How much our actions we put into our mind, our material mind, we still can't understand him. Okay. So he is beyond the actions of our material mind. Akritaha. Moksha is uncreated. It is beyond our material mind at this point. So Moksha, Vishnu, they are all called Akritaha in Vedic Sanskrit. So mere karma for earthly benefits of Swarga will never take us here. Okay. And if you think just doing karma will take us, no. Even if you do only karma yoga, it will not take you. Karma yoga should follow with jnana, bhakti, vairagya, and then you should progress beyond that rather than just stuck in this karma itself. Karma is the first step in the journey of souls. Okay. So this is important. Pariksha lokan, karmachitan, brahmano, nirvedamayan, vai nasti akritaha krutena tad vijnanartam. So how do you know this Paramatma, this akritaha? This akritaha cannot be known by just doing some actions. No, he can be known only through vijnanartam. Okay. Vijnana means what? Highest levels of knowledge, which is what? Vedic scriptures, scriptural knowledge is the highest form of knowledge, which is what is atapara yaya tad aksharam adhigamyate. First Kanda is already told us that that is the highest form of knowledge. All others is aparavidya. So you have to start there. And then he says, how do you do that aparavidya? So gurumeva abhigachet. You need to go to a guru. So gurumeva abhigachet. How do you go with guru? Not with a checkbook, say like, I want to do a course for 2 weeks, a rapid fire course on Vedic scriptures. Shall I pay $10,000 and I can stay in your bed and breakfast or your residential apartment? Here is a check for $10,000. There are lots of fake gurus who do that in India, I'm afraid. But that is not our Vedic Rishi's approach. Yeah. So you don't write checks and go and stay somewhere and then claim that you want to know about Vedic science. 100% not. The Vedic prescription there is sa gurumeva abhigachet with what? Samitpani. That is how simple our Vedic rishis, that is all they need. Samitpanihi. Pani means what? Your hand. With your hand, take samit. Samit is what? Sticks. Sticks for what? Yajna. In yajna, what do? You make fire. And what do you do in fire? Think about the Agni Namaka Paramatma. That is all the Vedic rishis are happy with. Yeah. Not a check for 10,000 pounds. Yeah. Or have various foundations of various types and fool people saying that they're going to teach them Vedic philosophy. Give me a break. That is not the Vedic approach. Yeah. Tad Vijnartam sa gurumeva abhigachet samitpanihi. And go to whom? That is also Angirasa says. You don't go to some fake gurus. Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. Who is this Shrotriyam and Brahmanishtam? Shrotriyam, that person who has heard what is worthy of being heard. Okay? Not some music of some type. No. Shrotriya, Rig, Yajusama, Atharva, Veda, Shrotriya. That is what is worth knowing. And once this guru has known this Shrotriya, and he knows that this whole Sarva Shabda Vachyatva Brahma, not 5 verses of the Vedas that talks about Paramatma. The whole of the Vedas talk only about Paramatma. Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. And he is firmly situated in that Paramatma because he has learned that every sound is an epithet of God. That is the qualification of a guru. Okay. Tasmai. So once you have done this guru, let's finish this. I got 5-10 minutes. I think we should finish this particular verse because that closes that sequence of thought. So he says, this is the qualification of a guru. When you go to a guru, find out he is a Shrotriya. Is she a Brahmanishta? Shrotriya comes first. Shrotriya means, does he know the Vedas? I know folks who don't even know the Gita and then they profess that they are the greatest philosophers of Vedic science. Yeah. At least you need to be 100% sure that this person is a Shrotriya and that he is a Brahmanishta. When you know that, Tasmai Sahavidwan Upasannaya Samyak Prashanta Chittaya Shamanvitaya Yena Aksharam Purusham Veda Satyam Provacha Tam Tattvato Brahma Vidyam. Okay. Another amazing verse of how should a student be? Okay. What is his criteria? How should he be? How should he be behaving? How should he be studying? So that is what he's talking about. Once you have gauged who the guru is, then you have to go to the student and understand what the qualification of that student is. So what I'll do is for the next class on Sunday, we will take up who this Vidwan is. Tasmai Saha Vidwan Upasannaya Samyak Prashanta Chittaya Shamanvitaya Yenaksharam Purusham Veda Satyam Provacha Tam Tattvato Brahma Vidya. Beautiful verse. So we'll take that up. And I just want to remind you, this is what the very first verse. Om Brahma Devanam Pratamahas Sambhabuva Vishwasya Karta Bhuvanasya Gopta Saha Brahma Vidyam Sarva Vidyam Pratishtam Atharvaya Jeshtaputraya Praha. So that is what Chaturmukha Brahma, to his very first son Atharva, he taught this. What is he going to teach? That is the next kanda of who this Brahman is. Yeah. So we have still not come to this Brahman as an entity that is being discussed in Mundaka Upanishad. This is all the prelude. So here, Angirasa is telling Shuanaka what was taught by Chaturmukha Brahma to Atharva. Okay. By giving all these qualifications and preliminaries, and then he goes to the next kanda and talks about some really profound philosophy, profound Vedic philosophy that we will pick up next Sunday. Okay, so on that note, thanks for joining us today. Of course, there are too many slides to think about. And Krishna Pranamastu. So what I was going to do is next Sunday, I will be in India. So I hope I'm not jet lagged. I'm landing on Sunday morning, but I'm quite determined to carry on because this is such a beautiful section. So we will do this from Bangalore on next Sunday. We'll close this particular Kanda next Sunday. Okay. So on that note, Krishna Pranamastu. If there are any questions, we can take it up now. Anand,
Madhuji,
yeah.
namaste.
Yeah. Jagdish, go for it. Jagdish, go for it. Then I'll come to Anand.
So, very quick. Easter, you talked about this hotras, right? Is this the same? The last slide you had, is this the same one that who does one of the yajnas and one of the hotras who knows the Vedics? Is that the similar hotras what we're talking about?
Okay, so we just clarify this a little bit more, Jagdish ji. Hotra. So Hotru generally means priest, yeah. So you have
Right.
Hotru, Advaryu, and so on. There are 4 different priests. They have their assistants, and there are 4 times 4. There are 16 priests who
16, right.
who oversee the conduct of yajna, and then there is the yajamana and the yajamani. So that forms the 18. When there is a proper Vedic yajna that is going on, so that Hotru. So the Hotru is a priest. Whether he is a guru, he may be a guru, yeah. But I think the context, what here we are talking about is, there is this Yajamana who is doing this yajna, okay? And that is the Shuanaka who is the Yajamana who is doing all these yajnas. And Angirasa is saying, when you sit around and do this yajna, how do you do it? What is your perspective to do it? That is the discussion, as you know, in the first phase of this Mundaka. And then he goes on to say, like, what are the eligibility? So Yajamana is a kind of a student, right? He's trying to make progress. So it is that discussion about that student, in what perspective he should be doing that yajna. That is the next point. And the next one is, you will do that perspective of doing the yajnas properly only when you have learned the Vedic philosophy. And how do you learn the Vedic philosophy? With a guru. And who is that guru? Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. So that is how you link that for this whole process of this Mahashalaha who our friend Shuanaka is. So Harishji?
Yeah, just also a similar terminology question. So in one for Vartamana, in one picture there was a fence, and in another picture there was a path. So if you can clarify what Vartamana means, and I had a similar question about Karma Chitta also, just a terminology question.
Yeah, so here Vartamanaha, there is also in other places, it's also called Veshtyamanaha. So there are 2. So if you look at Katha Upanishad, you can get Veshtyamanaha. Here it comes as Vartamanaha. So they're both called fence. They're both fences.
Okay, and
the
the Vartamana
here is fence.
Is a fence, and the next page where we say Bahuda Vartamana.
Yeah. So you mean
Yeah.
So okay, I understand that. So there the Vartamanaha there is, yes, it is all different fences, and you're taking these different routes with all these fence around it.
Okay, but the context is still fence, but it's just a different. Okay,
different perspective. You're still in that fence of ignorance, and you're going through various paths.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's helpful. And just one other thing. Karma Chitta. What is that? Is it just the person who does? What does it technically mean?
Karma Chitan, okay. Karma Chitan means so Pariksha Lokan Karma Chitan. You got this, you're in this loka because of Karma Chitan. You have done various karmas, so you're either in Mrityu Loka or in Swarga Loka. So you have to do examination of both these lokas that you've attained through your previous karmas.
Through your own karmas. Okay.
Through your own previous karmas, you've attained either the Mrityu Loka or the Swarga Loka. And then you have to do pariksha of both. You have to do examination of both and understand that both are temporary abodes. Which is what, as you know, Nachiketa did when he went to Yamaloka.
Thank you,
Anandji, sorry, you had a question.
Madhuji, the 12th verse you just explained us.
Which one, Anandji? Sorry?
The last one you just explained to us about the guru and...
Yeah. Sure, go for it.
I think there is a reference for this in Bhagavad Gita as well.
Yeah. I've got that in the subsequent verses. There's a beautiful Tadviddi Pranipatena Pariprashnena Sevaya Upadekshanti Te Jnanam Jnana. Is that what you're talking about?
Correct. Yeah. Even the wordings are slightly similar. Such a coincidence, or probably. And I know Bhagavad Gita is full of Upanishads.
Yeah.
Nice to see that correlation there.
Yeah. Upasannaya, for example, this Upasannaya is also called Upasatti. Yeah. Upasatti means Sashtanga Namaskara. Total surrender is called Upasatti. In Vishishtadvaita, there is a concept called Prapatti, total surrender. So that Prapatti is Upasatti, is Upasannaya, total surrender. And Krishna, as you know, picks up this Tadvidhi Prani Patena. So the whole 8 Angas are there. And then and as Bandanji will say, hold on to this Acharya's legs. Don't let him go. Hold his legs. And then he'll teach you something. Yeah. So that is how, I think that is what you're asking, right?
Yeah, thanks.
Beautiful. So if there are no further questions, let's get Harish to recite Om, and then we close today's session. Excellent. Thank you everyone for joining another very interactive session. So I'll see you next Sunday for the rest of this Khanda. And the following Sunday, me and some of us, we are traveling back. So probably we'll have to give a miss for the following Sunday, but I'll catch up with you guys next Sunday. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Take care and be safe.
Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha.
Hare Krishna. Shri Guru Bhyo
Hare
Namaha.
Krishna.